Richard, you did make the announcement about Kiva that it's 10 years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is sort of give you some insight give everybody some insight into how we got involved in Kiva, and I think what it represents in the life of St. Mary's as a missional community. As a parent, one of the things that I think of often is how do you get your children to take responsibility for their actions and inactions, both the positive and the negative? We live in a society in which there's an awful lot of projection and transference and a lot of avoidance of responsibility for what we do and what we fail to do that we should do. And so when dealing with youth groups, that would be one of the themes that's always in the back of my mind. How do you encourage young people to take responsibility for their actions? And indeed, in relation to this world that we live in, with poverty, with war, with victimization in so many ways, what can we as individuals do to deal with that reality? So it's in that spirit that one night, the youth group came over to the rectory, and I did something that I don't usually do. Like, we occasionally would refer to the Bible, but we very rarely did structured Bible studies. But this particular evening, I told them that I wanted to start with a passage from the Bible. And I was going to say, with your permission, I'm going to read it now. But nobody's going to say, no, don't read the Bible. And so this is the passage that I read to them. It's from Matthew 25. When the Son of Man comes in all his glory, and all the angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. Before him will be gathered all the nations, and he will separate them one from the other, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep at his right hand, but the goats at the left. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, Come, O blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you brought me socks. I was sick, and I changed that bit. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, and thirsty or give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and put clothes on you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you? And the king will answer them, saying, Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these my brothers, you did it to me. Then he will say to those at his left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you didn't visit me. Then they also will answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and didn't minister to you? And he will say to them, Truly I say to you, as you did it not to one of the least of these, you did it not to me. And they will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. And I think this passage gives us a really rather, if we take it to its limit, a profound insight into the nature of the way God's mind works, if we can use the sort of human term mind to describe the way God operates. What's going on here is he's flipping things on their head. The people who thought they were the righteous ones turn out not to be, and the people who weren't the righteous ones turn out to be the righteous ones. And the way that's determined, who is righteous, is the ones who take responsibility for the needs of their neighbor. And so that's a little bit of the sort of thing that I said to the youth group as it was, a small youth group, as it was meeting in the living room. And then I asked them a question. I said, okay, if we accept this, and of course everybody accepts it, you know, that that doing good things for people is a good thing to do, and not to do good things for people ain't so good. But once we accept it, what can we actually do? And a silence like death descended over the room. You see, so often we have good intentions and good desires, but when it comes to the practical application of those, we tend to face our limits. Whether they're in our relationships with one another, in our friendships, in our community, we reach the limits of our resources, and we don't know what practical steps to do to improve the situation. That goes for churches, it goes for marriages, it goes for families, and it certainly goes for youth groups. So, of course, being the youth group leader that I wasn't going to leave them just hanging like that. And so I then said, come with me, and we went upstairs, and we sat down in front of my computer, and I introduced them to Kiva. Now, Bethany's going to be talking about, she's got I hope it all works well with the computer and stuff. She's got some slides prepared to describe Kiva and what we've done with Kiva. But for all the kids who were there, and as I say, there weren't many of us, being introduced to Kiva microcredit was something that was brand new. And they saw pictures and written stories of people who were living in some pretty disparate parts of the world and some pretty desperate parts of the world. And Kiva invites people to make donations of $25. You can make as many of those donations as you want, but that's the minimum. And I had said to the youth group that for every $5 each of them donated, I'd match it with $5 of my own. And so we went up to the office, to the room, expecting to spend about $100. Well, having read a whole lot of the stories, we didn't stop there. We way exceeded that amount of money. And what was absolutely not astonishing to me, I'm not quite sure what the word is, but it was certainly a wonderful thing to see, was how we looked at the computer screen and saw these people's lives, and even though we were looking at pixels and pictures, somehow there was a human-to-human connection going on. And that's something that has continued for over 10 years. And so today, at St. Mary's, the very few in number, and you know what, perhaps that's a good thing. You know, we started with few, and there's few there today. The few in number are hearing that story again. And of course, as you know, the proceeds from the lunch are going to go right into the Kiva account and going to go to help more people. And Bethany is going to show you and display how many people have been helped in how many countries. But you know what? St. Mary's has a pretty good track record of helping us people. We've done who knows how many 100 pairs of socks to St. Michael's, and how many hundreds of pounds of food to Violent Mission. When we do so, we're stepping in the mind of God, that our responsibility isn't only to ourselves, but our responsibility is as well to those around us. And indeed, it is such an important point that God makes that he even defines the difference between entering into his presence and going away to eternal banishment from him. So today, we think of how to help others in the world, we celebrate it, and we dedicate ourselves to continuing on in this way. Amen.